Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a quick fall makeup look using a variety of new luxury makeup products. And generally speaking, I only spend about 5 or maybe at most 10 minutes a day putting on makeup. And so that is the kind of makeup look that I thought that I would share with you today. In addition, it does tend to be difficult for me to find luxury makeup products that will work for me because most of them do include fragrance or other ingredients that do irritate my sensitive skin. But I do spend a lot of time looking at ingredient lists for luxury products, and I am sometimes able to find ones that do work out for me really well, and so I thought that I would talk about some of those today. So first of all, I have a new lip liner from Tom Ford, and Tom Ford does make my favorite concealer in the marketplace and their little concealer stick, so I am always hopeful about this brand, but unfortunately they do usually put fragrance or other problematic ingredients in things. But I did find out that this lip liner has an ingredient list that looks pretty good for me, and I have been doing well with this, and so I will be showing you this, and I have this in the color A list. And then in addition, I have a couple of products from Dior. So recently Dior came out with a new line of eyeshadow singles that I think are available mostly just on the Dior website so far. And so I have this in the color Nude Dress, and I think that this has been a nice color for me. And then I also have a highlighter palette from Dior that is called Dior Backstage. And so this has a bronzer shade in it and 3 different highlighter shades. And so I've been enjoying this particular palette. And then I have 2 new products from a makeup line that is called Creal. And Creal is a makeup developer who has been involved in the luxury beauty industry for quite a long time. And she helped to found the Victoria Beckham beauty line, and she also worked with Tom Ford and with Bobbi Brown and with a variety of other companies. And so she just introduced a line of products that are specifically developed for women who are over 40 and that have state that they are a clean beauty brand. And so I decided that it was important for me to pick up a couple of these products. So I have her liquid concealer product, and I also have a lipstick from her that just was released to the market a few days ago. And then I also have a couple of older luxury products that I still have been really relying on, or that I do enjoy when I get them out. So a product that I probably use more than any other makeup product in my whole collection is the Jones Road Brow Pencil. And this is a pencil that I can use really fast to draw on what I think is a plausible brow, and so I will be using that. And then I have 2 products from Bobbi Brown. And so one of these is their gel eyeliner, and this is a product that is probably at least 10 or 15 years old, and that I still do really like whenever I get it out, and that I think is a lot better than pretty much all of the rest of the eyeliners that I have found on the market. And then I also have a powder from Bobbi Brown, and this is called the Nude Finish Illuminating Powder. And this is a kind of, I think of it as a little bit of a combination of a light setting powder and a finishing powder. And I also do really like this one when I get it out. And so first, a little bit of information about me. I am 60 years old, and I do have dry and sensitive skin, and I have never had any kind of cosmetic procedures like injections or surgery, and I don't intend to do that. And so one thing that I'm looking for from makeup is for it to hopefully be making me look a little bit fresher, or hopefully maybe even a little bit younger. And certainly I don't want it to be really exacerbating the look of the wrinkles and other issues that I have going on my face. And over the past 3 years, I've tried more than 1,000 makeup products, and so I do have a pretty good basis of comparison for everything that I discuss here on this channel. And one thing that I have learned is that there are certain ingredients that always do irritate my sensitive skin, and I know that those ingredients tend to be very irritating for many other people as well. So I just don't talk about products that contain those ingredients on this channel. So let's talk first about Sarah Creal. So she is described as being an influential brand builder, product innovator, and CEO. And she is 54 years old. And what she said was that as she got older, that many of the products that worked for her when she was younger were no longer working for her as well. And so she thought that it would be worthwhile to set up a company to focus really on women who are over 40 and that also had an interest in clean beauty or that had sensitive skin. And she seems to be most well known for her work with Victoria Beckham. And Victoria Beckham is a company where I've done really well with most of their products, I would say. And there are a few products that I haven't been able to use because they were irritating to me. And so I thought that it would be worthwhile to at least try out some of these products from Sarah Creal to see if they would work for me. And right now, the Sarah Creal products seem to just be available pretty much just on the Sephora website and also on the new Sarah Creal website, but hopefully she is thinking that she will get them into some additional stores. So let's start out by talking about the Sarah Creal concealer. And this is a concealer that I've used at least half a dozen times so far. And I have been really impressed with this and I have been really enjoying it. Now I know that there are a number of other concealers that were released recently that are at this luxury price point. And those include the Victoria Beckham concealer and the new Westman Atelier concealer. And I have also been liking those, and I do want to do some videos on those coming up very soon. But I thought I would start with this one in part because I think that it kind of is very similar to a lot of other concealers that you may have tried in the past, but without necessarily those drawbacks. So I do think that, as they say, that it tends to be less likely to make the wrinkles around my eyes look worse. And it also is something that I can use easily on my eyelids in terms of it being an eyelid primer for me to put on eye makeup. And in general, I think that my skin has done really, really well with this one. And that it is really easygoing and that it does seem to be something that I can just throw on and that I was able to just throw on the first time that I used it and that it has worked really well for me. Now, in addition, I like this concealer because I don't feel like I need to put anything on along with it. So I did put on a little bit of the Ilia Base Face Milk on my face before I put this on, but other than that, I was able to just put it right on my skin, and I haven't put on any other foundation today, and I put on a little bit of that Bobbi Brown powder, but I'm not even sure that I would need to put powder with this. I think it just does perform really well by itself, and it does look really natural, and it really doesn't look like I'm wearing concealer at all, in my opinion. And it actually is the case that the main thing that I tend to use liquid concealer for is as an eyelid primer, and that most of the time for the rest of my face I am using a cream concealer. But I do feel like this has worked pretty well for the rest of my face in that it does look pretty natural and not exacerbating the texture issues. And I feel like as an eyelid primer that this one has been very nice, and that it does cover the darkness on my eyelids really easily, and that it dries really easily, and that the texture is one that does work well with the eyeshadows that I might put on top of it. And there are 10 shades of this particular concealer, and I have shade 3, which is described as a light neutral. Generally speaking, my skin is sort of right on the borderline between fair and light, and so in this case there was a fair cool and a fair warm, and I don't know, maybe both of those would have been okay for me, but I think that in this case this color, this light neutral, might be a little bit darker than sometimes what I use in a concealer, but I think it's been a good color for me. And then the Jones Road Brow Pencil, this is a product that I talk about all the time on this channel because it is one of my very favorite makeup products. So I do have very sparse brows, not because I plucked them, they just seem to have ended up like this. And so this is a brow pencil that I really like because it has little fibers in it. And so when I use this to draw on a brow, some of those little fibers make it look like I have a lot more real brow hairs, and they give my brows some texture. So generally speaking, I feel that I do need to use some kind of a brow pencil to fill in my brows, but most of the time when I use a brow pencil, it looks very flat, and then I need to add some additional tinted eyebrow gel over the top of it in order to add some more texture. But with this particular brow pencil, I can spend about 10 seconds per brow, and I do think it gives a pretty plausible look. So that's why I've been so enthusiastic about this. And then I'm just putting on a very small amount of this Nude Finish Illuminating powder. And this does have a little bit of talc in it, but in general, I think that it has not ever been irritating for my skin at all. It does have just a little bit of shimmer in it, but it is so light that it really doesn't look like I have any kind of real highlighting on my face from it. And it does have just a little bit of moisturizing in it, but not so much that it's problematic. So I think that for my maturing skin, that this does create a look that's a little bit fresher, and that it does absorb a little tiny bit of the oil from my cosmetics into it, but it certainly doesn't make me look dry. And I think that it may be the case that this particular powder was originally designed for women who are older, or at least the makeup artist that I talked to who worked for Bobbi Brown said that they very often recommend it to their older customers. And in general, this powder I do think has been fairly versatile for me, so I wouldn't use it with something that is really greasy, like the Patrick Ta foundation or the Jones Road What The foundation. But I do think that for most of the foundations that I wear, the kind that do tend to dry down pretty easily, that this is a very nice choice to top it off with. And I actually don't think that I've ever heard of anyone on YouTube ever talk about this product, but I really kind of like it every time I drag it out. And they are still offering that on the Bobbi Brown website. And then Dior makes a line of face palettes that are called the Dior Backstage Glow Face Palettes, and there are 3 different ones, and the one that I have is 002 Glitz. And so this has 2 shades that I have used quite a bit. One of them is a bronze shade that I think does have a little bit of reddishness to it, so I'm more using that as kind of a bronzy blush type of a product. And then there's one that's a peach color that I think goes nicely with my skin that I just use as a general highlighter. And those are only mildly shimmery, and then there's 2 other shades that do have a bit more glitter in them, and so I use those on occasion, and they're not so glittery that I can't use them. But in general, I think that this has been a nice choice, and it doesn't have any aluminum powder in it or anything that I think has been problematic for me. And I think that of all the Dior products that I have used, this one is really one of the only ones that I've liked very much. So over the past year or two, I've tried a few different products in the eyeshadow category from Dior. I did try their Backstage palettes that have, I think, 9 different shades, and I thought that those were okay. And I tried the 5 color ones that I think are in the Diorshow line, and at least the one that I tried I thought did not go on very well, and many of those do have aluminum powder. But I was really happy with regard to this little eyeshadow that comes in a single, and I think that in terms of going on nicely and actually looking nicely, and this color I think has worked well for me. It's a taupe color, but it has just a tiny little bit of a shimmer in it. And I even feel like if I use it with this little applicator that comes in the container, that it goes on really nicely with the applicator. Usually I just throw those applicators out. But it seems to be working really well with this particular eyeshadow. And so I think that I like this enough that even though it's $35, that I'll probably buy at least one more shade of this and give it a try. And $35 is kind of a lot for a single eyeshadow, but I think that maybe as single eyeshadows go, that this is one that I really like. And then the Sarah Creal lipsticks were just released last week, so I purchased one, I think maybe the day that it came out. And there are 10 shades, and it is described as having a creamy, high comfort, high impact lip color with lip hugging wear that keeps lips hydrated for 6+ hours. Now, one thing that I did find a little bit unusual is that the names of the lipsticks are kind of politicized. So they're called Speak for Yourself lipsticks, but the names reference things like social issues and pay disparities and mansplaining and abortion rights. And the one that I chose, because I really like the color, is one that's actually called Madam President. And I think that's, I don't know about that name, because I feel like regardless of how you feel about Kamala Harris, probably this lipstick is going to make you feel a little disconcerted because you may either be worried that she's not going to win or you may be worried that she is going to win. So I don't know if women who are over 40 are interested in thinking about those issues when they are putting on their makeup. You can let me know what you think. I ended up choosing a shade that is described as chocolate brown, and that is the shade that I thought would be the prettiest, especially for the fall. In terms of the lipstick itself, I do really like the color. I am glad that I chose that lipstick color, and the formula I do think feels really nice on my lips. It's pretty easygoing. I wouldn't say that it stays on my lips for a long period of time. I think that I can probably expect it to last for an hour or two before I feel like I need to reapply it. So it is pretty lightweight, and I think that compared to other moisturizing lipsticks, it holds up reasonably well, and I do think it is good for my lips, so I don't feel bad at all about wearing it, and I think that my lips do appreciate that moisture. I do feel that when I put this on that there's a slightly bitter taste. There's no flavor that's added to it, and there's no fragrance that's added to it. And I feel like that bitterness is maybe something that seems more like it's some kind of a botanical ingredient rather than some kind of a chemical ingredient from a laboratory that I'm more concerned about. And I am not finding that this particular taste is making me not want to use the lipstick, but it is definitely something that I tend to notice every time I put the lipstick on. And then I put on some of the Tom Ford lip liner. And so one thing to know about this lip liner is that it does go on quite dry, probably more dry than any other lip liner in my collection. And so if I put it on lips that don't have anything on them, then it does stay on my lips for a really long period of time, but it does tend to be very, very dry. And I can fill it all in, and it does create a reasonably nice looking lip if I'm not wearing anything on top of it, and it will last for a really long time. But I do think that if I'm either wearing it over some kind of a lip balm or if I put some kind of a lip balm or a lipstick over it, then it more lasts about the same amount of time as, say, my Chanel lip liners. And in general, I do think that the best comparison for these lip liners is with the Chanel ones, which previously were my favorites. Now, there are a lot of lip liners on the market that are more like nude type colors that I think also are very nice, but that's a sort of a different kind of a lip liner than what I'm thinking about. So for instance, I really do like the Mob Beauty 1990 lip liner, but that one's about the color of my lips and it's not really designed to create sort of a statement. And I think that with the Chanel lip liners and then now with this Tom Ford lip liner that I'm more inclined to buy this in a color that is kind of distinctive and then to wear that in combination with a coordinating lipstick or maybe even just with a little bit of lip gloss or lip balm over the top of it, and that creates a specific kind of a more sophisticated and slightly more dramatic look on its own. So the Chanel lip liners I think are still $35 and they come in a variety of shades. And this one from Tom Ford, I think it's more than $10 more. And so the question is whether or not this is actually worth that extra amount of money compared to what the Chanel one would be like. And this one comes in 8 different shades. So there are a couple, and maybe those are the most popular, that are really light colors and that are more like pink or a nude type color. And then there's at least 3 of them that are various shades of kind of a bright red. And I decided to go for one that seemed more fall to me. So this A list is described as a warm brown, and I do think it is a brown with a little bit of a berry type of a color in it. And I do think it's one that goes really well with a lot of the lipsticks that I have. So for instance, the lipsticks from Merit that are called like 1990 or any of these 1990 lipsticks, I think that this is a nice shade to go with it. And it's not so brown that I feel like it's making that much of a 90s statement, but I do think that it has a very nice little fall vibe to it, and it goes really well with the kind of a variety of different kinds of lipsticks, including this one that's called Madam President. So in this video footage, I decided to put on the Madam President lipstick first so that you could see what that looked like, and then I put the lip liner over that, and then I finally added another layer of the Sarah Creal Madam President shade. And I think that, it ended up looking, I thought, like my lips were considerably larger than they usually are, and probably this is more so than even when I put on the Chanel ones. So I'm not sure why it is the case that this one would be emphasizing my lips a bit more. I'm not really having the goal of making my lips look larger. I feel like they're fine the way that they are, even though they're not all that thick. But I do think that if you want a lip that's a little bit more dramatic, even though I'm not doing any overlining, I still was able to get a lip that was much more defined really easily. And I do think that as I get older, that having a lip liner that is performing really well has become really important to me. And so spending a little bit of money on that seems to be worth it, especially since lip liners do seem to last for a long time. I don't remember ever using up a whole lip liner and needing to repurchase it, actually. But I am thinking more and more that what I should probably be doing is just putting on lip liner at the beginning of every day when I put on makeup, because I do think that it actually looks nice, and that insofar as I'm wearing any kind of makeup, it's actually creating a nice look for me, especially as I do get a little bit older. So in general, I don't know if this one is better than Chanel, and I don't really have the opportunity to go to the store and try out all the shades of either one of these brands and figure out which shades would be best for me. I'm just kind of randomly buying things based on what I see on YouTube videos and what I see on websites. But I think that I would buy another one of these lip liners from Tom Ford, and I probably will buy more of the lip liners from Chanel. So I do think that this is a really good product and that it's worth the money that I put into it. And in general, if anything, it makes me a little bit more interested in buying something else from Tom Ford. So for instance, there is a new powder that is called, I think, the Architect powder, something like that. And it is, I think, $95. So that seems really, really expensive for a powder. But since the two products that I purchased recently from Tom Ford have been big successes for me, that makes me a little bit more interested in that powder. So in terms of the Sarah Creal concealer, in general, I really haven't used that many liquid concealers in the past. I did think that the Kosas Revealer concealer was okay, but I was really still almost always using just a cream concealer, except on my eyelids. I did use the Revealer concealer as an eyelid primer a lot. And I do also like the House Labs concealer, but again, I haven't used that very much on my face. I do think that that's a very thick concealer and that I need to be really, really careful, or else I will start to demonstrate that I have texture a lot more than I would like. But I have used that a lot as an eyelid primer. And recently I've been using the Sace Lip Tint Concealer, and that one actually has been working pretty well for me, surprisingly well. And I have been using that on occasion on other areas of my face rather than just on my eyelids, sort of as an interest of time and just pulling out one product. And I haven't yet used that on camera, but I think that I really should do that, and probably I should compare that against this Sarah Creal concealer just to see which one does work out best, because if the Sace one would work out better, then that would be a big savings for people. And then in terms of this Sarah Creal lipstick, what it's really reminding me of actually is the brand new NARS Explicit lipsticks. So these again are sort of hydrating lipsticks, and they come in a bunch of different colors, I think 36 shades, I think. And they are $40, so that is pretty pricey too, but you can get a refill in that for $24, which brings it down to a pretty reasonable cost. And I really do like the NARS lipsticks a lot. I like the way that they taste. They don't have the bitter taste to them. And I think that they come in an awfully lot of shades that I think would work well for me. And I like the fact that I can go to Ulta or Sephora and choose the shades there in person. So all in all, I think that I'm much more likely to buy another one or another several of those NARS lipsticks than I am to buy another one of the Sarah Creal ones. But I'm not sorry that I purchased this one, and I will continue to wear it, I think, because I do kind of like the color, especially for fall. So in terms of the Sarah Creal products in general, I think that this is a good start. I do think that these are really, really expensive products, and I'm not sure that the price is justified by the quality of the products. I feel like if they were a little bit less expensive, I would be more enthusiastic about them. But in general, I think that they are good enough quality that I would be interested in buying some more things from them. So they also do have a mascara, and that is supposed to be a dark black mascara, and the idea is that it's not supposed to smudge, because Sarah Creal said that she was having problems with her mascara smudging as she got older. And I am not sure that I'm interested in that so much, because for one thing, I'm gotten to the point where I've been replacing my mascaras every month or two because I'm afraid of getting an eye infection. And so if that is the case, then $40 for a mascara is an awful lot to spend on one. And I also would prefer a brown mascara rather than a black one if I was going to spend $40. And if I really was going to spend $40 or $45, then the one that I would really want is the one from Westman Atelier, which is called I Want You. I do really, really like that mascara, and I'm hoping that I can get one that is very similar to that, also in brown, from another company at some point in the future, because that kind of would make me more interested in wearing mascara on a regular basis. If you noticed, I didn't put any mascara on today, and I would say that the majority of the time I don't wear a mascara, but I think that if the Westman Atelier one were a little bit more affordable, I would wear that a lot more often. And then Sarah Creal has a couple of lip treatment type products. So the first one is called Lip Grip, which seems to be a lip primer. So I'm a little bit interested in how that would work in conjunction with her lipstick or with other lipsticks. Maybe it would make it last a bit longer. I do often use a MAC product that is called Prep Plus Prime, especially when I put it on under a matte lipstick. And I do think that that works really well with that. So I would be wondering how the Sarah Creal product that is called Lip Grip compares to that. It is a little bit pricey. And then there's a lip treatment balm, and the ingredients on that I think look pretty good. So I would be interested in trying that. I have had some success with some other lip treatment balms. Recently, I've been really liking the Augustinus Bader lip treatment balm, and that is about the same price, I think, as this Sarah Creal one. So I would have to be convinced that the Sarah Creal one was going to be better if I was going to spring for that. And there is an eye cream, and the eye cream is $95. And I feel like this eye cream has some ingredients in it that are a little bit more problematic than usually what I like to see in an eye cream. Usually I like to see an eye cream that is very, very clean and that is not going to irritate my eyes. And then if it doesn't have too many preservatives in it, my goal is to try to use it up really quickly and to use one container of it at a time rather than to try various different eye creams. And this one, I feel like this one has some ingredients in it that are a little problematic. And in general, I don't really like any kind of skincare that has silicone in it, like dimethicone. I think that that's really doesn't work all that well for me in terms of how my skin is behaving. And so I probably won't be trying that one. And then there is an essence, and the essence has sodium hyaluronate, squalane, peptides, niacinamide. In general, I tend not to put essences on my face. Generally, I tend to be feeling like I'm doing better putting creams on my face, or I will take some kinds of serums, and sometimes I will mix those with creams and put those on my face. So something that is really watery like that, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but that one actually seems like it might be okay in terms of the ingredients, so I would certainly be open to trying that one anyway. And then finally, Sarah Creal has a sunscreen, and she is claiming that this is an all-mineral sunscreen, but in actuality, this does have a sunscreen booster in it, and so that is a real problem for me. So the sunscreen booster that is in this is called tridecyl salicylate. So this is very similar in structure to another sunscreen booster that is more well known, which is called butyloctyl salicylate, and it is also similar to the approved sunscreen that is called octisalate. And in general, the consensus seems to be that the only reason that these are not approved as sunscreens is because no one has ever submitted them to the FDA for approval. And so therefore, that what we can basically say is not that this is a mineral sunscreen, but this is an unapproved chemical sunscreen that is being used. And if people want to put this into products, then I don't have an issue with that. It does irritate my own skin personally, and so I do want to avoid them. And I do think that it is misleading to say that a product is a mineral sunscreen when it has these sunscreen boosters in it. I don't think the companies should be doing that, and especially if they're clean beauty companies, I don't think that they should be doing that. So that does make me a little bit annoyed. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if you have had any success in terms of trying luxury makeup products on your sensitive skin, then please let me know about those. In addition, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel yet, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much, so thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
La ba da la 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 bum